You're now listening to Stepner Show.
Tonight, we welcome you to Los Feliz. We have a very special show for you tonight because we haven't done this in a minute and haven't done it live, and tonight I feel alive. And so we are going to do things a little differently than before, because tonight we're coming at you from Happy Haus 2.0. We'll talk to you about three things, and we're going to go backwards. Number 3 is living by default and not by design. Talk about my grandfather, and we're going to talk about Happy Haus 2.0. So, a few months ago, I was in a situation where I had to leave my apartment and come next door, and I was fighting the feeling because, as you know, Happy Haus is my personal creative laboratory where I sit and dream and create. And to come over here forced in a situation that I didn't want to be in had me really in a mood like this. I was like sitting in the corner just pouting like, oh my goodness, this sucks. You know, I had to leave my apartment and now I'm over here and things suck because this is not what I want. I want my life to be normal and comfortable, and I have this drama where I had to uproot everything. And of course, being in that mood, I had to figure out like my future self. And I was like, oh, future self, you know, when you were younger, I had to do a bunch of things that were different, and you gotta stop being such a weak-minded individual and get with the program. I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this. And of course, when you're not the agent of change, change becomes really difficult. And I was really sad about it. And I wasn't really happy. Happy Haus had become Sad House. But at the same time, there was a situation that was really difficult. My grandfather was not well. You know, when we first heard about this pandemic, you heard things on the news that someone you know is going to get COVID. Someone you know may die of COVID. And of course, when you first hear these things, it becomes shocking because you don't know what the impact is going to be. But then, when that situation knocks on your door and really hits home, my grandfather's death last month became something that was extremely difficult for me. It was a situation that I wasn't prepared for. It was a situation that I couldn't participate in because of this pandemic. And it really put me in this place where psychologically I was in the crux of change between my physical realm, then everything with my grandfather. It was the death that I was dreading my entire life. And when it happened, it was a very difficult moment for me. And I've been alone here in Los Angeles. And as you know, when people start to pass away, it's one of the hardest experiences that you can have in life. And as you are living through this, you come to realize that time is precious, but in a situation with a pandemic, things get really complicated and really difficult. But after his death, I realized that even though I was alone in the situation here in LA, I've never really felt alone. I was connected to my family, and we've been connected together and observing his life. And the man was 91, and it got me thinking, will I ever make it to be 91 years old? I don't know. But it led to me thinking about this third thing I want to talk about tonight. Living by design and not by default. This man really demonstrated that living by design was truly possible. And I realized that in the last 10 years that I've been losing family members and friends that have departed, every single time it's put me in a place where psychologically I had to just really roll through the event, and thus I began to conform to living by default and circumstances and just stay comfortable and not drown in these moments of difficulty, right? At the time, I wasn't really trained to transform your poison into medicine, right? I didn't have the alchemy down of really changing all that for yourself. But in these last few months that I've been observing and feeling and processing all these emotions, I've realized that I have been living by default. And it had me thinking about this concept of, as a child, we're told that it takes a village to raise a child. But what happens to that child when we grow up and members of our village are no longer with us? What happens when that child grows up and embarks on a walkabout and goes out into the world connecting with other villages? And then you get to a point in life where these members of your village are no longer present. And how do you step into these roles? How do you step into these vacant roles when you're in this moment of your life? And this is the conundrum that I've been in these last few months, where it's like, if I can't even figure out this apartment situation that's forced me to look at my life from one perspective to another, literally a 180. I felt like I was in the movie Tenet, going from one apartment to the other in circles. And it was so bizarre because everything's backwards. But in forcing me to see my life from a different point of view, it allowed me to understand that, hey, I have been living by default, and I'm not really happy about that in the big picture of things, right? In the moment, it's like, yeah, like, let me be comfortable over here and be like, yeah, que cómodo, deja echar la hueva, and enjoy the softness of life. So it's come to this. To live life by design takes great skill, takes practice, takes conscious thinking, and I've become aware of this. And only now have I realized that to self-accept this is the direction that I need to go. Thank you.
For all our goodies, log on to StebnerShow.com. Follow us on social media at Stebner Show.